We want to introduce our racetrack sustainability panel, and I really like this topic because, like it or not, folks, we burn a lot of fossil fuels, we make a lot of noise, and we better be good custodians out there, if for no other reason than to avoid bad press. So our panel is fantastic. On the far end from me is Jared Krisiloff. He's a Senior Director of Marketing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jared was named a member of Indiana Business Journal's 40 Under 40, and he was recently honored by Junior Achievement as one of Indy's best and brightest as well. He's worked in a variety of roles at the Speedway. Racing is in his DNA as well, and his different roles at the Speedway, including event director of the very successful Red Bull Indianapolis Grand Prix. Drew Patey in the middle, Director of Motorsports at Safety Clean. Safety Clean, as I like to say, has been green long before it was cool to be green. They've understood this recycling thing and being good stewards of the environment. Drew understands racers too, having started out with one of my favorite old NASCAR teams, the old Stavola brothers. And after joining Safety Clean since 1994, he's been coordinating Safety Clean's environmental fluid recovery program out at the racetrack. And Ben Wilshire, he's the managing director of Driven International. Ben has competed in the British Superkart Championship, 4 national karting titles to his resume. Before getting involved in the business of motorsports, you've consulted on over 100 motor racing projects in 35 different countries. That's a lot of frequent flyer miles, indeed. And Driven International is helping clients implement new environmental working practices. So, Jared, I'm going to throw this one out to you because I know the Speedway's been working hard at this. Is going green, is this just for PR, or does it make good business sense as well?
Well, I think first of all, thanks for having us up here to talk about this topic. It is a great topic to talk about. I'm excited to be here. I think it's both. You know, it's a fantastic opportunity from a PR perspective to be able to show progression, innovation, and also just general goodwill for not only our fans but our community and so on. From a business perspective, it's difficult to say that there's always a good business opportunity, but there certainly are opportunities to develop business, to generate business, and to augment your own business in some way. And we've been able to do that in several different ways with what we've done with the solar farm, but it's unique to every property. You know, you think about as simple as what Tom's is able to do from a sustainability initiative. They buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes, they use recyclable products. It's part of their DNA. What can we do as an industry, as a venue, as an individual to do something that is as simple as that helps us collectively do some goodwill for the business and the community? Drew?
Being green is very important. And again, I want to share what Jared just said. Thanks for having us up here. This is, to me, it's a really dear topic because this is my life. This is all I do, and 14,000, Safety Clean Harbors employees do every day. Business sense to being green. I thought about how to put this to you. In the group here, it's the law. You got to be. It makes all the business sense in the world to be green, to properly take care of your fluid waste. That's what Safety Clean does. We don't do any solid garbage waste, but it's just all the proper collection and disposal of your fluid waste. And with racing being as visible as it is, and as popular as it is from California, to all over the Midwest and to Florida, you're looked at all the time. And so it makes all the business sense in the world to follow the local, state, and federal regulations and do the right thing. And to me, that's the business sense to do it. And of course, there's the green side for the social and the community and all of that. But from my side, from my business side, it makes business sense to do it because you either pay now or you pay later. And you sure don't want to pay later, because there are stories throughout the whole industry that I could share with you about, racetracks being fined, and not, for not doing the right thing. And so.
And Ben, I'm going to throw a little twist at you, because you're our resource for telling us what it's like all over the world, not just here in the United States. How are the rules different, the environmental rules different, especially in Europe and other countries?
Yeah, hi everyone. Really nice to be here. Thanks, obviously, for inviting us over from the UK. So we're working with various circuits and governing bodies in Europe to help implement environmental accreditation at circuits. And I think probably the most important thing to say as a starting point is, we realise that everyone in this room is involved in motorsport. By default, we're not green to start with. And, we realise that, but it's about the attitude that we take towards it, and also limiting our impact to the environment where we can. And as Drew says, it's legislation that will catch up with us. So what we're seeing in Europe now is many of the circuits actually becoming ISO accredited for 14001, which is, for those of you who don't know, is an international environmental standard. That's certainly happening more and more. And also the FIA have a sustainability program that allows motorsport businesses to become accredited for environmental impact. The sustainability scheme is not as stringent as ISO standards, so now a lot of circuits and motorsport businesses are really starting to take that action and implement environmental procedures around their race circuits, and we're seeing that a lot now in Europe. I'm not aware that anybody in the US has done that yet, but I may be wrong on that.
Jared, I'm going to throw the next question back out at you, because one thing that we know about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is it's been there for an awfully long time. What are some of the unique challenges that you guys over at the Speedway have encountered trying to modernize such a classic facility?
I don't think we have enough time on this panel for that. But as it relates to, I think, the topic today, for example, right now what's going on is we have a significant renovation update project that we're calling Project 100. We're investing about $100 million into the facility. A lot of that work is going into seating, amenities, improving the fan experience to ensure that we can stay competitive with other venues and major venues that are being developed around the country and the world. And one of the things that you have to think about is when you've got a grandstand that was built 60-something years ago, there's a lot of different materials that are being used today versus then that we have to be compatible with. So just thinking about that as one small hurdle, there's lots of individual nuances throughout the entire venue that we have to deal with. Anytime you're retrofitting, I think the cost of modernizing and reconfiguring becomes very challenging. Not only is it a big giant headache, but just physically sometimes it's impossible, especially when you don't have the areas to expand. So I'll give you an example. When we think about how you're going to effectively recycle from a suite location that is suspended 10 stories high, it's got a walk path that's about as wide as this yellow strip. We have temporary staff through caterers and so on who are transporting our trash. They're getting it to a chute. It's dropping into a large dumpster that's tucked behind the grandstands, where you can pretty much fit a golf cart between the fence line and the dumpster. And then on the other side of the dumpster, you've got a row of about 10 people waiting for concession stands. So a lot of what we get challenged with is just confined space and ease of transporting, whether it's food, drinks, ice, trash, or any of these things from different areas, so that we can maintain space for our customers to go around. So sometimes we have to take sustainable shortcuts, I guess, if you will, to just make sure that we can operate the event. So how would we do that and be sustainable? Well, you need a separate chute. You need a dedicated crew that's bagging things appropriately, that's ensuring that the chutes aren't getting contaminated. The additional dumpster that we have at the bottom isn't encroaching on our fans, that isn't getting contaminated, and all these different efforts. So I'd say that that's one of our biggest challenges, is the confined space that we have with the scale of the events that we currently have.
And Drew, targeted right here at you with the question, but everyone please chime in if you have a follow-up to this one. What are the true costs to setting up a recycling program with Safety Clean at your racetrack?
I'm not going to tell you. The true cost? Well, Safety Clean does it as a marketing venture for us, for the company. We entertain customers, all over at the events. And basically what we've set up is from a cost basis, it used to be that we would like to go get the oil when oil was at $80 and $90 a barrel. When oil was at $30 a barrel, we don't even want to pick it up. So right now the costing is it's kind of, there's a lot of pressure on us right now. But to answer your question directly, to set up a recycling program, whether with Safety Clean or whether with any other company, I do encourage every single track to do it. Okay, that's first. You need containers to collect the oil. You need containers to collect the antifreeze, the used oil filters, the used absorbent material, brake fluid, and so on. You need a place to take it and the company to take it that's reputable. And thank God we've been doing it for so long that we document everything and where it goes and what happens to your waste, so you're not chased down 10 years later on and have to defend yourself. So to set that up, there's physical costs of buying the equipment. Right now, I provide all the major racetracks with the service at no charge. Anybody that's here in this room that attended this conference, I will be more than happy to extend that to you too at no charge if you're not on the deal already. But basically, what I've done also is set up a discount program that's equivalent to what we sell services to at Ford Motor Company and FedEx to provide the services at that level, at the track level. Cost for you during the course of the year, it's minimal. It's not that much at all. And I don't want to say it in front of my friends who give me the tickets and the free ads to the program and the PA announcements. And Andy, don't look at me that way, please. Okay, because Andy knows the whole deal. Okay, but the costs are minimal. But I do, again, and I can't say this more. I'll say it 20 times while I'm up here. You got to do it, though. You can't not do it. Okay, that's the important thing.
Ben, go ahead.
I was just going to add to that. So the cost can be a cost. The cost can be an opportunity. Just as Drew just mentioned, it's a business platform for Safety Clean, and for all of us tracks, we're in the business of creating platforms for sponsorship and investment and so on. So you can invest in a recycling program on your own, whether it be aluminum, plastic, trash, whatever, or you can use your venue as a case study for how large-scale recycling can be done. We haven't perfected it, and I wish I had a better story to tell, but there are lots of agencies that are out there that are trying to prove that they can recycle on a large scale. And for us, as an example, how can you essentially create a recycling program in one day over 6 hours in the third largest city in the state at that time? We become the third largest city in the state, on race day during the Indianapolis 500. And our emergency room becomes the largest emergency room in the state during race day at that time. So that's our example on how the platform can be used for any other recycling agency or anyone who is interested in recycling, and then it becomes potentially a profit center for us. We may not be able to create a perfect scenario where everything is being recycled, but we can show an impact, and I think that's exactly what green professionals are really focused on, is demonstrating impact so that the long term can be proving long-term impact.
Yeah, I mean, just one example, actually, one of the projects we've worked on, there's free circuits in the UK we've been working with that's managed by one company. And we actually were brought in to implement environmental procedures around around all of their venues. And one of the things we looked at was their waste carriers and the contracts they had set up with those waste carriers. And we helped them make significant financial savings by reviewing how they were doing that, who they were using, what the contracts were, and also help them comply with the legislation in the UK in terms of what they needed to do with their waste segregation. And one of the things they're considering doing now is actually putting in place something to engage more with the fans and spectators at big events, similar to the KISS program, which some of you may or may not be aware of, that the FIM run. And I think, I'm not sure if there's anyone here from Circuit of Americas. I think there might be. Yeah, hi. So I know you guys have implemented that program and awards off the back of it as well. And what we're looking at in the UK now with some of the smaller circuits is having something similar, where we actually have the spectators that are coming to big events help with the cleanup operation after the event. And believe it or not, people are willing to do this. I don't know what that says about people that go and watch racing events, but we found that a lot of people are willing to stay behind. They have access to other areas of the circuit and the venue that they wouldn't have as a normal ticket holder, which for them is fantastic. And they get involved in the cleanup operation after the event, help with the waste separation and recycling. And we're seeing actually spectator numbers go up as a result. Whether it's directly because of that or not, I don't know, but it certainly hasn't deterred people.
Brian Giddinelli, speaking for Thunderhill Raceway in Northern California. A bit of a comment, which is certainly there's legislation that would drive you to do some things, and you could say that there's warm fuzzies as well, but there's also just a straight ROI case to be made. At Thunderhill, we have implemented a number of improvements for sustainability. So waterless urinals, for example, that save something like 40,000 gallons per year, which in California right now is pretty important. We have extensive solar panels. We have 3 windmills. We also do recycling fluids and so forth. And one thing that we've had some luck with a couple times now is obtaining grants from the state of California and other programs to actually help fund oil recycling programs. So effectively, we've been paid to recycle and spread the message of recycling.
How much money did you get? Because I'm doing it for free. You're splitting it with me.
It's $250,000 each time.
You tell me what I should do.
Move to California, I don't know.
You need to go get a grant.
Yeah. So I think there's certainly lots of reasons to do it, but I think you just say, look, energy is unlikely to get less expensive. Water is unlikely to become more readily available. If we're planning for these fixed asset facilities that need to have a long-term shelf life, we should be looking for what our 10 and 20-year plans are, and I think these are good investments to make.
Okay, while I'm finding our next question, I'm going to aim this one, Ben, right back at you. If I'm a track anywhere in the world and I say to you, I want to go greener, I've already got Safety Clean on board, so I've taken care of Drew. What do you do? What's the best first step?
Yeah, I think the thing that we try and work with circuit operators, and it comes back to a point earlier that was made in some other discussions, is that racetrack operators are obviously trying to increase their revenue and profits in various ways. So what we try and do is take a really sensible feet on the ground approach with circuits, just starting in terms of working with their management team to understand what their environmental impacts are now and small changes that they can make. So we're not talking about building solar farms or fundamentally changing the way that the circuit operate. All we're talking about at this stage is maybe having some awareness across the business in terms of what the staff are doing with travel, in terms of car sharing, things like implementing paperless ticket systems that can go out to your competitors. There's small things that you can do that actually make financial sense. And I think that a lot of the things that we've been doing with the circuits, the foremost priority is the financials. And the reason purely because that's what businesses need to do. So all the companies and all the circuits we've worked with are doing this foremost to make financial savings, and the environmental impact is a byproduct of that, and there's no reason why the two can't go hand in hand. So I think small changes to start with, and then obviously I mentioned the FIA sustainability program earlier. That's quite a nice scheme for circuits to look at because it's not as stringent as the ISO standards and other environmental standards. It's been developed by the FIA for motorsport businesses. And that applies for circuits, it applies to any other motorsport companies, teams, championships. And I think what we're seeing is the ASNs and the other governing bodies is filtering that down through motorsport. So I think that would be a good scheme for circuits to look at initially.
Jared, how did you guys at the Speedway decide? I mean, there's a lot of different directions you could go. How did you decide which was the right first step to take for the Speedway?
Well, I don't know if we actually had a lot of thought going into which step to take first. Kind of back to the whole business opportunity. I think the first major step that's been noticeable is a solar farm. I know we'll probably talk about that here in a few more minutes, but that was about developing an opportunity that had a solid ROI for the business, but was something that we could do. I think where we've been challenged before is really identifying where we can produce a solid ROI on simple things like trash pickup, energy consumption, and so on. So for us right now, I wish we had a more sophisticated plan and roadmap, but I think the way that Ben articulates it's the best approach.
Again, thank you guys for coming, especially from overseas. We really appreciate that, Ben. Again, this is another topic which is really new to our industry from a facility perspective. There is a lot of discussion over Formula E and that form of racing, which has really gotten a lot of presence here in the last, I think they're starting season 3. We're talking about driverless cars for this. But what this is actually doing is it's becoming part of the green sports movement within the sports and entertainment industry. And recently, I went and attended the Green Sports Summit this year, which the Indianapolis Motor Speedway received a facility award from recognition for it. And what is interesting is how big this industry is from a sports facility standpoint. So I think what's really great is we've got some people here who are experiencing it. I think one thing we do find is, where do we start? And there's different levels that are in here from that. And I think we've got companies, especially like Safety Clean there, that are a key component to that chain of the business aspect of it. So I think this is something that's there. Obviously, it's highly visible with some of these solar projects. I think what's really interesting is when at the summit, they talked about solar farms and the size of this at several of the facilities, whether it be obviously Indianapolis and Pocono and Sears Point in particular. The size of those farms are huge for that. So once again, I think this is something that can be done. I think we've got some real experts that are here. The other part, which is very interesting, is looking at the financial incentives. Again, we are all looking at different ways that we can help go through and try to pay for our business. So again, if it's working with partners or looking at regulation that helps us do it, let's consider it and let's talk to these guys and see what we can do to make green part of our sport. Because again, like everything we've talked about in safety, it's inevitable and it's here, and we have to work together from an industry perspective.
And Jared, about your solar farm, how did you guys go about deciding the right size and determining how quick you wanted that return on investment to work out for a project that would also, quite frankly, bring you a lot of good press?
Well, I think it goes back to what your approach is. If you decide to, embark on a sustainability project, I mean, just like what we heard from Thunder Hill, they looked at opportunities that exist for their facility. They looked at opportunities that exist with the state, and they started to knock a couple of those off and assess them individually, and then probably created some sort of a roadmap, on how to continue that. For us, we've got a lot of space and land that's somewhat unused. And so we looked at it and said, we probably got a big chunk of area right here within the city that could be used for a solar farm. And I think on top of that, you marry that with this infusion of solar-based companies investing in sports. And so we looked at how we could align with that interest in bringing awareness to solar energy as a whole. So for us, it's back at, how can we leverage our facility to tell this bigger story around not just sustainability, but a business platform for someone who wants to tell the story of their business. It just happened to be around the topic of green. So our hope, we're the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We get a lot of credit because we're the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for just about anything that we do, whereas we probably don't have as many great programs weaved throughout the venue. Case in point with Thunderhill, we're able to showcase big installations of things like that. So our goal was, if we're going to do this, let's do the biggest one in sports. So that's what we wanted to achieve, is to have the largest solar installation of any sporting venue in the world, and we were fortunate enough to have the right amount of land to be able to do that. The ROI was on multiple fronts. Again, there's a company who sells solar panels. They want to showcase their panels. So there's a business opportunity for them to do business at our venues to showcase that, just like any other sponsorship. And then there's the business deal on how the energy is being used. We're actually not taking any of the energy from the solar panels. That's probably where you start, is how do we decrease our energy consumption. In fact, our deal is with IPL, Indianapolis Power and Light, and we're able to augment power consumption for 7,000 homes in central Indiana. So not only is there an ROI for us, but there's also a great story where we're giving back to the community and helping them with their consumption and power bills as well. So that's how we approached it in that specific instance.
Can I just add another point to that as well? So there's a similar scenario in England, a much smaller circuit called Castle Combe. Some of you may or may not have heard of it, but there's an old airfield circuit built on the runway initially, and they've got a huge infield area of the track that they can't do anything with. They can't develop other facilities. It's not somewhere they can generate revenue from. So they've actually done exactly what you guys have done at Indianapolis. They've now got a solar farm on the infield of the circuit, which is now giving them rental income from the company that have installed the solar farm. So that's revenue generation from land that was otherwise unused at the venue. And they're also getting power from that facility, and also wider community benefits. I think it's something like 1,000 homes that are benefiting from it in the local area. So it's sort of like 3 ticks in the box, really, from their side with land they wouldn't have otherwise done anything with. So it's just another example that kind of resonates with what you're saying.
Ben, is this a real trend internationally? I'm over here, by the way. Is this really a trend we're seeing internationally to add solar farms to facilities? We're seeming to see this be contagious in the U.S.
Yeah, being from England is not something we see a lot. So I don't think it's necessarily a trend. I think it's got to be right for the venue. You've got to have the land there to do it, and probably have land that you can't use for other things. I think it's probably, if you had land that was there to develop other sports facilities or other ways of generating revenue at your facility, you might look at that first. The more trend we're seeing in Europe is more the way that the circuits are operated in terms of their waste collection, the way the managers are running the venues and operating it. That seems to be more the trend at the moment rather than the solar panels. But I'm English, so that might be why.
Christopher Joseph from Chicane. One of the things I find really interesting coming to the US and talk of sustainability, when I first launched the magazine, one of the themes was sustainability, and people said to me, you won't find any sustainability stories in Formula One, which in fact is not the case. 2 of the teams are carbon neutral, and there's huge reasons for that, not just sustainability environmentally, but sustainability as a business case. So in terms of attracting the right type of sponsors, even more sponsors than the other teams. So I just wonder if, as circuits or as facilities, you need to start co-opting sponsors and fans, not just in terms of picking up rubbish, but in terms of taking responsibility for the sustainability of the event they go to, and that then feeding back into you as a business case for getting more fans to come to, which is essentially a technology showcase. I wonder if you've approached it from that angle at all.
I can comment briefly. I think, glad to see you made it, by the way. Yeah, I think the biggest thing here on the green side, the sustainability side, is actually we're probably already all doing it without realising it. So, for example, when I flew over, I didn't print out my boarding pass. I just used the email and the QR codes. And there's a lot of tech now that's around that's driving us to be sustainable, perhaps without us even realising it. And obviously in motorsport, there's a showcase of technology, which sustainability is a byproduct of it. And now what we're trying to do is help circuits to introduce that. So things like digital platforms for fan engagement, where fans aren't printing out bits of paper, or they're actually doing everything online and seeing things online now. So I think technology is a great way of promoting the way we live and the way that we behave at race circuits, but a byproduct of it is sustainability without us really even thinking about it. So yeah, certainly something we're trying to promote.
I have one comment on that about sustainability and about race team sustainability, and that is that at some point in the game here, the race teams have to take responsibility for what they do at your racetrack. Okay, they bring an enormous amount of stuff, tires, oil, garbage, food, to the racetrack, and they all seem to leave it. They just leave it. They think that, okay, great. We talked about the gentleman before us talked about the back gate. I guess when the guy pays $30, he has the opportunity at that point to leave whatever he wants to leave. And boy, I've collected some pretty weird stuff in 55-gallon drums over my days. But that, I think, if I was a track promoter, what you bring onto my facility, you must take away. That would be part of the deal, because you guys can't be responsible. You should not be responsible for that. Your EPA generator status should not be determined by what this guy leaves on your property. I think it's kind of crazy, and I think that's one of the steps that I would encourage each and everyone to take. Mid-Ohio really was a leader in that. When you drive up the hill and go through the first gate, the truck driver's got to sign a piece of paper that says he's going to take away the tires, the oil, and everything he brings onto the property. Will he do it? Maybe not, but it's a way to start, and I would encourage each track to do that.
I know in the UK as a competitor, we get fined if we leave the tire. If we're found to leave tires at the circuit.
Can I fine people?
Fine.
I'm making money. I made $125,000 from this guy.
Actually, I should reword that. The championship organizer who's rented the circuit will have a fine, but if they find out who's done that in terms of which competitor or team, then that gets handed down to them. I've never been fined, by the way, just to say.
The NHRA has a fining method if they pour oil in the garbage cans and things like that. I don't think they've ever fined anybody, but I've seen the rule and regulation.
Okay, Drew, I'm going to ask you a very unfair question, but is there a particular type of motorsport that is doing a better job at recycling and having this sustainability?
Oh, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway by leaps and bounds. Only because he's my buddy. No, I believe that, I think that everybody is really, taking it on as a major project and an important project to do. There are no more 55-gallon drums at NHRA, drag races. On Monday, after a drag race 5 years ago, it looked like a toxic waste dump. I mean, there would be 55-gallon drums in a parking lot. How they got by that for years and years is beyond me. But now the race teams bring their fluid waste to a common spot and drop it off. They bring their oily rags and paper in plastic bags, and we recycle it properly. They bring all of their spray cans, brake spray cans, paint cans, whatever. Can't throw those in the garbage anymore. Anywhere in the country, can't do that. You have to properly dispose of them, and put holes in them and drain the fluid out of them. And then it becomes really the plastic cans become a recyclable product you can sell to your scrap metal guy. But all of the sanctioning bodies have approached me to do a program. I don't does one stand out? The larger tracks with more money stand out. That's easy to say because they give me all the room I need. They give me all the help I need to do it. The smaller tracks, sure, they're pressed with, they're stressed, to make money. So we work with them as close as we can to make sure that their program is sustainable. And one of the things that I can say to anybody Anybody in the country, whether it be in Canada, the United States, or in Mexico, if you do have a problem with your local EPA guy, call me. I know I got one of my employees that's close by that can come help you out and bail you out. It's really funny. I'll leave you with one little story. And I don't know if anybody from the Michigan International Speedway is here. And I don't think I'm speaking out of school because it's public knowledge. The greenest facility. Roger Curtis puts himself out there to be the greenest guy in all of racing. He got busted last week because they were throwing spray cans in the garbage. Okay, and so we went in there and got in the middle of of him being written up and stuff, and showed them how you can how you don't really you have to pay the fine yet. You can show the EPA that you're doing the right thing. I know it. Everybody laughs. You just know it's that 26-year-old kid from the EPA that walks in your door, and he's going to make a star in his chest, and because we're very visible. So, you could be the greenest guy in the country. That's that is Roger Curtis. He tells everybody he is, but you still got to keep after it day after day.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to add on to that there's lots of tracks. Circuit of the Americas have made it a big piece of why they were founded is to be a sustainable venue. I've been to races there before, and it's visible. That is important to them as well. Even with Michigan's issues, they've done some fantastic things as well. But to be able to unify impact, I think that it's really important for the sanctioning bodies and the team groups to really come up with collective impact. And what the FIA is doing with their accreditation program is an example of that. I think NASCAR does a fantastic job with most of their programs with gaining industry collective impact, whether it's through diversity or their NASCAR Green program. That's really how an individual track promoter can really latch on to a larger impacting thing to tell a better story. So my point there is that when any of these other sanctioning bodies are coming up with these programs, it's very advantageous to latch on to them and to be a part of those, because that starts to change the way that people at your venue start to behave. It starts to bring awareness to the impact, and then it helps you or enables you to look at other ways you can do things individually.
Fantastic. Ben, time to wrap things up. Your final word, please.
I knew I'd be first on that. So no, I think the message from us is really, you don't have to make huge changes at your venue. You're probably already doing a lot of good stuff, and it's just a case of taking small chunks to move forwards and progress. Same as with safety, it's about being proactive before it becomes an issue at your venue. And to use Jarno's analogy earlier, if you're struggling with mosquitoes in terms of sustainability, then put some cream on before it becomes an issue. So sorry. So, if I'm here until Friday, and I think, if anybody wants to talk and learn a bit more about what they can be doing at their venue and a bit more about what the FIA are doing with their sustainability scheme, then happy to give some advice and to arrange to meet up.
Drew.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for staying. It's lunchtime. It's 12:30. It's always a tough deal to do. But do something. Don't do nothing, okay, if you're a track operator or a promoter. Because, again, that 26-year-old kid's coming in the door. He just got out of college. He's going to he's going to get a raise because of you. Do something. If you need some help, please call me, without a doubt. I'll help you out in any way I can.
And Jared.
Identify a couple quick wins. So, don't try to make the entire venue sustainable. Just figure out a couple things that you feel like that you can knock off the list, gain support. Treat it as a business opportunity. On the last panel, I know one of the questions was related to racing, special events, backgate, how to have tracks evolved. Treat it as a business opportunity and think about it that way as well.
I promised you at the beginning of the day that we wouldn't solve all your problems, but we would start the conversations. And I urge you to use your experts. Even Jared on the end can tell you a lot of things, give you some advice on what it's like once you start these projects. Drew and Safety Clean, if you're not using them already, please do. It's a simple program that makes sense. It's the law, folks. You have to do it. So you might as well do it in a way that makes business sense. And I like this concept of race teams should take more responsibility. And you don't need to be forced to do that by your venue. Just do that as good stewards of your own racetrack. Treat your racetrack like it is your own home. And there is a cost to modernizing. Whether we like it or not, we might start a project with lofty ideals, and we'll probably find 5 more things that we need to fix once we start that first one, as they've discovered over there at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I love, and you can't move your track to California, but maybe your local government can provide a grant as well. So first of all, let's give a hand to our racetrack sustainability panel.